Welcome to VCR, a vintage cinema rewind. We're bringing old movies to new viewers. I'm Blake.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Michael.
And we've got the three of us together at last
Hey.
again for the best of episode.
The second threesome.
The second threesome. Hopefully many more to come.
This is my third threesome of the year.
Oh, interesting.
It's been a good year.
Tell me less.
Please.
Turn up. You should be so lucky.
So we're doing our best of, our wrap-up episode for the year. Each of us picked 5 movies. I guess we should go into criteria of how we picked our movies.
Maybe you should just explain the rules.
Yeah, the rules really quick. So we picked 5 movies for our top 5 list each. They had to be movies that we saw for our first or second viewing during the year. So, for example, I've seen The Thing a dozen times over the last 5 to 10 years, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. We did it for the podcast last year, and if I didn't have that criteria, I'd pick that one every year kind of thing. But this kind of helps guide us to newer movies. It kind of keeps us in like the theme of the podcast as well.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to identify old movies for new viewers kind of deal.
Mm-hmm. That should be our tagline.
And also, I did mention The Thing, so we're also doing movies because this is kind of our first full year of the podcast. We said we could do movies from the last couple months of last year that we did on the podcast. And I think that's basically the criteria. I don't know if there's any other thing else. Do you guys want to talk about like how you came up with your movies at all? Like, was there any theme that you came up with, like, as you were picking them? Were you picking it for yourself? Were you picking it for other people? Like,
I can weigh on that a little bit.
Sure.
So because I love you and I love this podcast, I am coming in today completely unprepared. Well,
son of a bitch.
in the sense, let me rephrase. In the sense that, like, you know, when we did our draft with the 3 movies back in September, I watched the 3 movies within a week or two. I had a lot of notes on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really wanted to pitch these movies well. With this one, you know, I don't know if it's turning 30 or whatever, but my memory is just fucking shot to hell.
It's been a rough year.
Yeah, it's been a rough few years. But
Yeah.
So, but I kind of use that to my advantage. One of the things I've been saying for years, and I think I've said this to you before, is I think the real sign of quality is how well something sticks with you. Like how well you can remember it after the fact. Because, like, we've all seen movies where you sit there in the theater and you're like, that was great. And then you leave, you go to your car, and you never think about it again.
Right.
So I deliberately did not rewatch any of these movies. I'm just going on my own memory, which actually, now that I hear that out loud, sounds really irresponsible. But
Well, I'm in the same boat, basically. Like,
Okay.
I just didn't have time to rewatch all of the things or, like, try to write notes.
Yeah.
okay.
With me, and that's something actually that you were mentioning, Mike, that Jason and I've talked about before. Like, I kind of base a movie off of whether it's good or not based on, like, how much I remember, like, a week after, 2 weeks after, 6 months after kind of thing. If a movie doesn't stick with me, then obviously I didn't like it enough to appreciate it.
Another thing I should mention is one of the criteria I used for my own little rating system is whether or not I rewatched it. Because I don't typically reread books or replay games or rewatch movies, but if I saw a movie more than once, like pretty close to each other, that means it was really good, or at least I really liked it. And that's something that will come into play for my number 1 spot.
Cool.
Wink.
I guess for me, I would say, like, the way I think about these movies is would I have wanted 15-year-old me to have watched them? Like, would I write this list
Interesting.
for 15-year-old me?
When you were getting into movies, like, right at that critical time.
Yeah, like, that's when I, like, fully, like, developed my love of movies, I think.
Right.
Like, it, like, became concrete for me as, like, something that I love. So these are, I kind of threw them together quickly, but that's basically, like, all of them I would highly suggest to 15-year-old me.
Cool.
See, just to weigh in on that a bit,
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of doing the opposite. Is would I want 30-year-old me to see this movie? Because there's a couple things on my list that are a second watch, but it's a second watch like 10 or 15 years later. So it's like, can I rediscover something and still love it or pull something new from it?
Cool. I like that.
Yeah.
My approach was a little bit different actually from both yours. Like, I didn't really go in like having an idea of what I wanted to do with it, but what I came to realize is that all of these movies are they're really funny in their own right, and they're not. The main focus isn't necessarily the comedy, but they all have really like heartfelt comedic moments. The other piece to this was they're all movies that I can't shut up about. So they're movies that I've probably talked about on this podcast over the last year, and if I haven't, it's because of this specific purpose, because I really want to shine a light on them today.
Okay.
But they're movies that I've been recommending people. They're movies that I've been sharing with people. Movies that I've even been just like rewatching with people. Like a couple of these movies I've seen 2-3 times this year. My first watch obviously being this year, but
Sure.
they're movies that I've watched multiple times with multiple different people because I wanted to share that appreciation with them.
I know there's one specific movie on my list that I should have liked it when I first saw it, but because of just my viewing experience, I had a really bad time with it.
Right.
So, yeah, I think I'm also taking the actual viewing experience itself into account.
Cool. I think with that, let's maybe get
Yeah.
into it. So we're going to do order of Mike, Jason, and myself, starting at number 5 and working our way to 1.
I don't like my picks anymore.
I've lost
I
confidence.
see you last minute making changes.
yeah. Like I can't decide, but I'll just go with what I have and throw in whatever else I want.
Cool.
'cause
Sounds great.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Mike, you
lack
have the
of a
floor,
plan.
buddy.
All right, number 5 is I'm going to embrace my inner 8-year-old girl, and my number 5 is going to be Pixar's Encanto
Cool.
from Disney Plus. I watched it twice this year, within 2 or 3 months of each other, and honestly, I had a really good time.
It was an enjoyable movie.
I haven't seen it, to be honest.
The rundown is basically it's a family in Latin America who they all have superpowers, basically. It's like a family genealogy kind of thing. But there's a young girl named Maribel.
Sorry, John Leguizamo is like the guy who's like kind of brought it together, I'm pretty sure. And he's
Yeah.
Bruno.
Right. He also voices Sid from the Ice Age movies.
Oh, nice.
Fun fact. So Maribel she's like the youngest daughter of the 3rd generation. And the deal is when you turn, I guess it's sort of vague, but like when you reach of age,
Like your quinceanera or something.
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
you get your superpower. But what happened with Maribel is she didn't get a superpower at the age. So she's feels left out because she's the only person in a family of basically superheroes that doesn't have superpowers. And the family is concerned because they're concerned that all the superpowers come from like this magic thing. And they're concerned that maybe the magic is starting to fade. So
Right.
anyways, though, like it's a really interesting look at family dynamics and specifically Latin American family dynamics.
Cool.
And also, like, generational trauma is the big thing everybody in therapy is talking right now. And I remember watching this movie in my apartment being like, holy crap, Pixar made a movie about generational trauma.
Yeah.
Like, and they did it
Well,
tastefully, too. Honestly, I had a really good time with this movie. I don't really have much to say about it other than, yeah, it was a
Cool.
good movie.
That's fair, and you can watch it on Disney Plus. So
and you
that's
can watch it on Disney Plus.
also a
Yeah.
plus.
Yeah.
Stephanie Beatriz, she's from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
She's
Oh,
one
okay,
of the
yeah,
other
yeah.
recognizable voices.
Yeah, she's Maribel.
Yeah.
So,
Alan Tudyk is also Pico.
Oh man, Alan Tudyk is kind of a family favorite in our household. Jess is a huge fan of his stuff.
I'm
He
not
does like
familiar.
smaller niche stuff, but I'm always happy with
Whenever
everything
he's on,
in.
yeah.
Like Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is the one
Yeah,
that comes to mind with him
and
always.
A Knight's Tale. Is
Yes.
that- yeah.
oh, wow.
Jason, it's your turn. You're up.
All right, so I have a brand new 2022 movie for my top 5 or number 5.
Cool.
It just made the cut because I thought of it this morning.
Nice.
Right?
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh,
Nice.
Great movie.
So we've all watched it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was like one of those ones that like I didn't know if it was gonna be as good as it looked.
Right, because the
And-
trailer was phenomenal
yeah,
when it came out.
Great trailer, and then like I didn't even see the full trailer. I just watched like little bits here and there because it would pop up on social media or whatever.
Right.
And I'd be like, whatever. And then I actually watched it, and it was like it took it took an amazing turn that was kind of gradual, but like also fast. They just went so far into this interesting area.
Well, it's all about there's two aspects to it, right? There's the multiverse aspect to it, and then there's the family aspect to it.
Yeah.
And Mike, you described it really well, actually, to me earlier in the year. You said it's a movie that's about a middle-aged woman having middle-aged Asian woman problems, and it's like what other movie out there is really doing that? Like it's
absolutely.
so independent and telling its own story.
And like I actually I may have been like a little wine drunk or something, but I cried a little bit like near the end, just like her, like the daughter's experience, and like she depicted a certain thing like within like mental health or depression very well, while also like it was such a fun movie. So like it had the depth. And it was so fun, especially the like you saw those stamps in the office that the lady was using, or like there were awards. I think there were awards, and they. I saw it earlier, and I was like, that's a butt plug for sure. And then the two like guys are fighting, and they just do like a cannonball onto butt plug.
Yeah.
So you've got the best of both worlds. You've got more generational trauma and butt plugs.
And it's like,
so that nails everything that I want.
that's a really good movie. And funny enough, Everything Everywhere All at Once is my number 5 as well.
Oh shit! There you go.
Yeah.
Hey.
And I'll just basically add on what you're saying. Like it takes like a really poignant spin on the multiverse in the fact that Evelyn Wang's character, Michelle Yeoh, she is embodying this character who is in the worst possible life that she could be living out of all these multiverses. And there's slight variances between all of the multiverses in the different directions her life could have taken. And we find out that she's in the absolute worst one.
Like the most boring. Like, it's not like hell, but it is its own
just
version
everything
of hell.
Just didn't quite go right.
Yeah, like nothing went right.
It's
so
hell in
it's
a very... It's hell in a very mundane way.
Yeah. Like if hell is mundane, then they nailed it with this.
It's and so it's really interesting in that sense. It's got like a ton of heart, whether it's just the family aspects, and that's kind of also something that I think widespread movies that everybody likes are often centered around families, whether it be like E.T. or even like, I don't know, the Fast franchise. Like how much do they talk about family in those, right?
Family.
But
Almost
there's
a
that
meme.
aspect. There's also one character or actor that I wanted to mention, shout out before I move on, is Ki-Hai Kwan. I really missed him from my movies. He is, if you don't know who I'm talking about, he's the kid in Temple of Doom. He played Short Round, and he was also the gadget kid in The Goonies. And as a child, like he was the kid that I looked up to in all of those movies. Like he was really, really important in my childhood.
He was the 180s kid.
Yeah, he was the 180s kid, and unfortunately, he felt a little bit typecast as the Asian kid. He also, like, as he got older, maybe struggled to find work because of that and maybe that stigma in Hollywood. And it's really unfortunate because I
had no idea that was him.
Yeah.
When you told me that, I was floored.
Yeah, I honestly, I really, really missed him, and it makes me really, really happy to see him in movies again. And
he was so good in this.
He was
amazing.
He was so good.
His character Raymond has a monologue towards the end of the movie that genuinely almost brought me to tears.
Yeah, it's just such a good movie, and honestly, I would recommend it to just about anybody.
Yeah, like 15-year-old us would love this.
Sure.
And
for the multiverse
anybody.
aspect, and 40-year-old us is gonna love this for the family aspect.
Yeah, and both for the butt plugs. So
so the butt plugs.
But besides that, like another thing too was just like how genius the way they interact with the multiverse is.
Right.
Like that was something I'd never seen considered in
it's
any
so many
type
there's
of
so
fiction.
many original ideas, and it's so
original,
funny how everything comes together as well.
Yeah, and like the paper cuts, like
man, that part was hard for me.
And like, what did she do? She like spit in her grandpa's mouth or something.
She had to kiss the tell her I love you. She had to tell Jamie Lee Curtis's character, I love you.
Yeah.
And she had to do it sincerely.
Yeah.
And so it's such an epic moment. Like it's slow-mo, and she's trying to put everything into it, like all of her heart.
Right.
Jamie Lee Curtis just does like a flying knee kick, or, like knee to try and hit her in the face.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun.
Jamie Lee Curtis
Very
was
fun.
also fantastic in the movie.
Yeah,
Like-
there is no low point to that movie. It is one of the best movies of the year, and it was hard to be number 5. Yeah, hot dog finger.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
That was hard for me to watch. That was the part where I squirmed.
I thought that was hilarious. But
Yeah.
anyway, let's move into number 4s. Mike, you're on board.
So my number 4 is one I've already talked to the two of you about. It's Last Night,
Yes.
the Canadian movie about the end of the world. Yeah, I was my second watch after 11 years, and yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about that movie. Blake, you said you've picked it up and watched it after
I
that.
loved it. Yeah, it almost made my top 10. It just didn't quite get there for me, but it was a movie that I felt almost bad cutting, but at the same time I was like, this doesn't quite make it for me.
Yeah, again, it's really, I don't know. I mean, I said quite a lot about it during our draft pick back in September, but
Right.
yeah, again, like I can't say enough about this movie. I don't think I've ever seen an apocalypse movie that made me feel as good as this movie did.
Yeah, it's strange because it's so it's there's a sadness to it, but at the same time, like you do feel happy by the end.
It's uplifting in a way. Like it's sort of, and again, I think I said this back in September, like it's sort of a movie that reminds you of the importance of human connections.
Right.
Despite how finite all of our lives are going to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And also just really fucking funny, too.
Yes, I very much agree.
I need to watch it.
You do need to
Sorry
watch
that I
it.
haven't yet.
That was out of all of I've watched a couple of the draft movies at this point, or I'd seen them all before, and so far that one's my favorite out of all the ones that I didn't pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think my favorite part is there's the main character, Patrick. He has this friend, Craig, and they sort of have a weird exchange at one point. I won't get into it for spoilers, but anyways, Patrick, it gets really uncomfortable and he stands up and he's like, all right, man, I'll see you later. And he heads for the door and Craig's like, no, you won't.
Yeah.
It's a really small moment, but I really liked it.
And there's a lot of small moments in that movie, if I remember correctly. Like just like poignant moments of people, you know, having those niceties still, but then realizing that nothing matters.
It's kind of like what we were saying about everything everywhere all at once. It's like it really captures the sort of the mundane torture of an experience like that. Which again, the movie doesn't dwell on it too much. It's a feel-good movie, but yeah, it really captures that. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Jason?
So number 4 was the hardest for me because there's so many, like, number 5 is like, yeah, it's pretty damn, it's like really up there.
Yeah.
But like 4 and
It's
like,
when it starts to like feel real.
4 is where I'm like, anything could fit into 4. Like that's where all of the movies fit.
Yeah.
Every movie fits there because in comparison to others, whatever you're feeling at the time. So I wrote down Butch, Cassidy, and the Sundance Kid first.
Nice.
And then Kill Bill. Because I had watched that like way too young and I didn't remember all of the details, so I rewatched that. And then North by Northwest.
Man, those are all 3 great movies. What are you going to choose? What's number 4?
That's what I'm trying to say. I don't know.
Is that like a 4-way tie for number 4?
It's a game time decision, my man.
Yeah.
You got to make one right now.
I want to say North by Northwest right now. Then like Cary Grant, like being like really getting to know who he was and like hearing his voice. Like I hear his voice when I'm doing things sometimes. Like I can't fully replicate it because it's so like unique.
So Cary Grant.
Yeah, it's Cary Grant. But like I'm like doing dishes and I'm thinking about things in Cary Grant's voice. Like I don't know what it is, but like the scene where he was like drugged and or like
drunk. In the car?
Yeah, like him trying to leave there and just his interaction with like his mother on the phone at the police station and she didn't believe him or whatever. Like all of that was so fun.
My favorite scene, hands down, is the one where he's out waiting for the bus and there's that suspense of like not knowing who's there to kill him.
Yeah.
Oh, that is like one of the highlight scenes of all movies in my opinion.
Yeah. So like it was such a fun movie for like and it might be the oldest movie on our list or at least my list it is. And like for how fun and amazing that was, for how early it is, like that's something that I would want to show like a 15-year-old me.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it really embodies like the best of Hitchcock because there's so many cool twists and turns, but it's also just in its own right, like an interesting spin on like the spy genre.
Yeah, and like just like with all the fun that there used to be in it, because it got a little serious in more recent years. Like it has all that really fun aspect that like certain periods of the spy genre have had.
Like the Get Smart period of like the 60s.
Yeah.
I don't think Daniel Craig would have been a good casting choice back then.
Well, he would be with Knives Out.
Yes.
Oh,
man,
yeah.
I love Knives Out, and
I haven't seen Glass Onion yet.
I really enjoyed it. I liked the original Knives Out better, but Glass Onion was very good in its own right.
Yeah,
I have not seen Knives Out yet.
What?
But I've heard nothing but good things. That's Rian Johnson, right?
Yeah, maybe maybe it's on next year's list then.
Maybe next year.
Okay, I'm talking my number 4. This is a movie that Jason, you and I had never seen prior to the podcast, and it's one of the greatest movies of all time, and I had a really hard time putting it at number 4, but I think this is the right place. It's the action-adventure thriller Jaws. Honestly, it's an epic tale of man versus nature. The movie itself holds up so well that it feels wrong.
I was surprised, yeah.
Yeah, like the fact that there's no CGI, it's just a giant mechanical shark, and part of the reason why it works so well is because the shark is utilized in like a less is more kind of approach. The movie itself, like this shark attacking the vacation town that the setting is in, it just throughout the movie builds tension in a really interesting way. Like we were talking during the episode that we covered it on, how that scene where they're all on the beach and we don't know who's going to get eaten by the shark, and you're like, that person's going to get eaten, that person's going to get eaten, and even like Brody, the main character, is like kind of got his eyes out,
like he's like in like a fever pitch.
Yeah,
like he's just like trying to keep it together.
Yeah, but on the flip side, the movie again, it's got some really great comedy to it. There's some really great comedic aspects, whether it's the kids karate chopping the picket fences, being the biggest problem that this town has ever seen.
Before this,
I forgot about that part.
Or just as well, like the characters themselves, the three main trio of Brody, Quint, and Hooper on the boat together, and how funny they are, and how their interactions between the three of them, and how completely different each one of them.
Those are three people that have no business being in the same room together.
Yeah, and it works so well. It's one of those like things that like when you stick people who shouldn't be in a room together on the screen together, you always come up with like really funny moments. Yeah. And so I just couldn't not put this movie in my list because of it being like all of those aspects and how well it fits into my criteria for a good movie, and B, it's just like, again, one of the most important movies of all time. It's Spielberg's first big hit, and now he's like one of the most beloved directors of all time. He's debatably the best of all time.
It's also like the first summer blockbuster, wasn't it?
Exactly, it was. So this movie is so important to our lives and our culture, and the fact that you and I had never seen it just because it was again one of those movies that we felt like we knew all the plot beats.
It was a meme. It was a parody in like everything we'd seen like in like the early 2000s, and like it's been parodied so many times, but that we thought we knew what it was all about.
Also, there's been like a glut of inferior shark movies ever since.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like every time I see a shark movie, it's almost kind of like, why would you bother, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like someone already got it right.
Yeah.
So
one other thing that I loved about it was the human versus human interactions.
Yes.
Where like they're like we're gonna keep this town open. We all need that money.
Yeah,
and
the mayor, the political aspect to it all as well.
Yeah,
it feels
all
so
of his
real.
Little cronies, that's exactly like it's happening still in the real world. Like it was real.
It's a timeless movie. It really is.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for the number 4s. Let's do number 3 now.
My number 3 is gonna have to be Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. So you guys did it on the podcast, right?
Yes, we did.
I was not around for that, but you and I watched it together, I think in like June.
Yeah.
And I had a really, really, really good time with that movie. Like, I've recently been on a William Goldman kick. Like, he's the guy who wrote the script for that movie. Mm-hmm. He also wrote The Princess Bride.
Yes, both the book and the movie.
Both the book and the script. He also wrote like Temple of Gold, magic, some pretty good thrillers. And yeah, no, like it's, it's funny. I really got into William Goldman, and he was a really like cranky, surly old man when I watched him get interviewed. And he wrote like a bajillion scripts and like a bajillion books. And when he was interviewed at the end of his life, he said, "Yeah, I don't actually like writing." And I was like, "What?"
I'm just so damn good at it.
Basically. No, but it was weird and funny. But he just like, he didn't really think he was that good of a writer. But he basically said, he basically said that the only two things he'd written that he could actually tolerate were The Princess Bride and Butch, Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Wow.
So they made his top 2, and it's making my top 3.
I feel like that's like classic, like kind of like a genius curse where he knows like he can write well, but nobody else is writing as well as him. And he's like, if I feel so shitty about my stuff, why does everyone else suck so much? I might as well keep writing.
Basically.
Something like that. Like, there's something in there.
Yeah, that's really funny. So I read a biography about him, and some other writer interviewed him, and basically like he'd write a book in one shot, do no revisions, and he would never reread it again. It's like the guy was trying to interview him for his biography and said like, "Well, why did you do this in this book?" And he just like, "I don't remember. Like, I don't know what you're talking about." So
part of the reason I love that movie too, because I had to share that with you. That's why it was a podcast movie that you and I did that I was like, God damn, I need other people to watch this one. And it's a Western, but it's so funny for being a movie that was made in the 60s. The comedy holds up so well in 2022.
And it wasn't just like a parody like Blazing Saddles or something. Like it was just like an adventure buddy comedy.
Yeah.
And like kind of the first buddy comedy in a way too.
One of the first,
like, yeah. That scene towards the beginning where Butch has to like, one of his cronies challenges him to a fight, and he's like getting ready for the fight, and he goes over to the Sundance Kid, and I forget what he says. It's just like, "Hey, are you gonna bet on me for this fight?" And he's just like, "Who would bet on you?"
What was his name?
Robert Redford?
Yeah, Robert Redford his lines were just so funny.
Yeah.
Like as like the straight man and like
the quiet one. Yeah.
But all of his lines were just so much funnier than it seemed like he knew.
Yeah.
Like,
kinda, yeah. That scene on the cliffs where he shouts that he can't swim and he's so ashamed of himself.
And Paul Newman just like throws his head back and laughs like, I can't believe this is happening right now.
Yeah.
What are you, crazy? The fall will kill you.
That is absolutely a classic, and I'm so glad that we got to cover that one on the podcast and share it and talk about it again.
There you go.
Yeah.
I want to rewatch everything.
Basically,
Yeah, this is basically
all
the
of these.
rewatch list now.
Yeah. And it's just going to keep growing, just like our list of other movies that we should have seen by now.
Yeah.
But at least we're tackling those as we keep going
Yeah,
with the
for sure.
podcast. All right. My third was Eyes Wide Shut.
Yes.
Nice.
Like, I respected Tom Cruise quite a bit for everything else I'd seen him in, but most of it was like the adventure action movies that he's done.
That's who he wants to portray himself as.
Yeah.
So seeing him in this, just like, it was so nice to delve into like a real character with him, and just the story was awesome, and like I really liked that like all the names like lined up. That was like one of my favorite things when we were reviewing it on the podcast, with like his name was like Dr. Bill or something. I forget exactly.
Yeah.
But everything was like money related and power related.
Right. It's there's so much depth to the movie, and that's like just a note of how great Stanley Kubrick is that not only is he fantastic at his direction of like the camera angles and the where the movie is heading, but it's also like just how deep every character is and how much there's there.
Yeah, and like you feel kind of the depravity of the world with like the dark shots, like the world that he's going into is so underground, kind of, that like and like just that time too, like it feels like I don't know, 70s New York or something like that.
Right. Like a noir almost.
Yeah. Even like the costume shop, the owner was like pimping out his daughter.
Yeah.
Like, and you didn't expect that. But then as you see this whole story unfold, you're like, of course, this is what everyone is like in this world. And it's kind of we don't know how far it happens in our own world. We see glimpses of it, but it's
Right.
crazy to see it from his perspective.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see it from the perspective of not being caught and not hearing the hearsay of what happened. It's getting the direct look at like how power corrupts.
Yeah.
Yeah. That said, if anyone listening wants to invite the three of us to a Eyes Wide Shut sex party, I'm totally down for that. Yeah. I already have my costume.
That's awesome. Yeah, I loved that movie. I wish that I had put it on my top 5, and it might appear. I'll talk about it later because I maybe it ends up in my honorable mentions.
Yeah, it was very fun and so much symbolism and like you can it's rewatchable because there's so much going on.
Yeah, with all Stanley Kubrick's movies, like there's a reason why he's one of my favorite directors of all time, and he's one of the best
100%.
objectively. Okay, my number 3 is a movie that I haven't talked about on the podcast yet, and there's a reason why. It's because this is the one that I really wanted to talk about here in this moment, and that is it because it's a new movie. It came out this year. It's called Barbarian, and it's streaming on Disney Plus. It's a really, really, really good horror movie.
You kept telling me to watch it, and
yes.
It was too scary for Annabelle. And I couldn't find time.
The basic premise of this movie, because we haven't talked about it on the podcast, is a woman shows up at night, and it's raining, it's so dark out, and she shows up in an Airbnb, and things are not what they seem, and that's the opening of the movie, and I cannot describe any more of it because I do not want to ruin it for anybody. This movie is so good. There's so many cool twists and turns that really just go in as blind as possible because it's something special. There's 2 ways that I want you to go and check this movie out because it absolutely deserves your time. Is you want to go in completely blind and preferably see it as a group. See it with a bunch of people. See it with as many people as you can. I've been trying to convince a group of people to watch this together, and I haven't quite got there yet, but...
Gotta work on your pitch.
But yeah, I've got to work on my pitch. It's not a movie that you sit silently through, and that's what most movies are, but... I watched this by myself, unfortunately, and I felt like an active participant even by myself in this movie. Like I was talking out loud. There's a point in time when a character says nope, and I said nope at the exact same time as them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because we both just looked at what was happening. We were just like,
I gotta get out of here.
And like I said, it's just got some really great twists. Like the movie, throughout the whole movie, it subverts your expectations of what a horror movie is and what a horror movie should be, and it preys on your knowledge of all that. It preys on your knowledge of every horror movie you've ever seen.
Interesting.
And the performances are just fantastic. It's got Bill Skarsgård, one of the Skarsgårds. He's the one who played It, the clown in the It movies.
Pennywise?
He's one of the best performances in this movie. Georgina Campbell, a new actor, she just kills it. She's got a great career ahead of her. And Justin Long makes an appearance.
Oh, Justin Long.
And wait until you see his appearance. I kept being like, isn't Justin Long in this movie? Yeah, and then he just shows up. And it's like, whoa, all right.
Did you guys ever watch Tusk? Is that what you were about to bring up?
I was actually just going to say, like, I was thinking about Justin Long recently, being like, whatever happened to that guy?
Yeah, Tusk was the last thing that I heard that he was in. But no, I think I've seen something else that he was in.
That's the Kevin Smith movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where he turns into a walrus?
Yeah, the guy turns into a walrus.
Yeah, he wants to be turned into... Yeah, whatever.
I heard some pretty mixed things about that movie.
Yeah, it's something that like I wanted to check out, but it wasn't high on my list.
Honestly, I'm a fan of Justin Long. I like his movies, like Dodgeball.
Pretty fun, yeah.
What's the one?
The College? Accepted?
Accepted.
Yeah.
Accepted was great.
Die Hard 4, he's good in. What's the horror movie? I can't think of it right now. Jeepers Creepers. That's a great horror movie from the early 2000s. Classic. So everybody here, like everything's firing on all cylinders, and the key piece of all this is the writer-director of this movie, and that's Zach Cregger, who you may know from Whitest Kids You Know.
No way.
What?
Yes. The
That's awesome.
Comedian, writer-director, Zach Cregger brings this all together, and that's why this movie is so damn funny while also being scary.
It makes sense too. I feel like with comedy, like comedy writers are in such like they have to. Everything they do is a trick to the mind to make you laugh. So they probably could twist it, just flip it over and turn it into horror. But also, like, it's cool he kept in enough comedy and horror.
Yeah,
So
it's
most funny people are like severely depressed,
Yeah,
so they
yeah,
understand
yeah.
horror.
well, it's really interesting too, because right now the big director that's up and coming, or maybe not even up and coming anymore, is Jordan Peele.
Yes.
And his 3 movies, his latest one, Nope, this year. And so it's funny to see Zach Krager, who's also came from the sketch comedy scene, kind of move into this horror realm. And I'm really excited to see what he does next, because this movie it killed. This movie killed. I want to watch it. I want to watch it with you guys sometime.
I'm down.
That'd be
I'm
sick.
down.
There's that just reminded me of Crimes of the Future with Viggo
Yeah,
Mortensen.
Cronenberg
And,
movie.
yeah, it's
hey.
a Cronenberg. I haven't watched any Cronenberg. I want to watch this one because it's Viggo.
Funny
and it
enough-
looks so fucked.
Funny enough, Cronenberg relates to this already because of Last Night. He's in Last Night.
That's right.
Because he's friends with the director of the Last Night, so he makes an appearance.
I have to watch that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and watch that.
He's a good actor too.
Yeah, he's not
I don't
bad.
know. I don't know how often he acts, but he did a good job.
Yeah. And that's it for Barbarian. So let's move into the number 2s. These are this is it. We're getting there.
I want to drink.
Okay, we got to
And a
make a new
smoke.
drink.
Okay, so my silver medal for 2022 is going to have to be Mad Max Fury Road.
I love that movie.
Yeah, so a little bit of backstory. I did see it in theaters when it came out 7 years ago, but I was in a bit of a bad place when I saw it, so I did not enjoy it. But with the benefit of 7 years and better anxiety medication, I was in a place to enjoy this movie a lot more. Also, fun fact, for those of you who don't know, which is all of you, I've been working on a book for the last 2 years, and I finished the first draft on May 7th, 2022. I was supposed to go to a bonfire that night, but then my roommate came home and told me he had COVID, so I couldn't go. So anyway, me and my deathly ill roommate just watched Mad Max together.
Cool.
And I had a really good time.
That's a movie that you want to watch it with as much sound cranked up as high as possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have to rewatch that. It's so good. I loved it.
It's not only is that one of your top movies of the year, that's probably my second favorite movie of all time.
Really?
Debatably my
I get
first.
it. I remember so it came out in June of 2015, and then I remember watching the Oscars in February of 2016, and Mad Max was just taking home all these awards. And at the time I was like, really? It wasn't that great. I didn't get it. I watched it again this May, and I was like, okay, I get it now.
So you watched it and you were like, mediocre.
Basically.
But now you're the guy spraying the paint on your teeth.
Yeah, witness me. Yeah. So what's that line? It's like, I'm carrying this movie to Valhalla, all chrome and gold, or whatever that line is.
Oh,
Yeah.
one of the greatest openings of all time.
Shiny
as well.
and chrome.
Yeah.
Shiny and chrome.
Seeing that in theaters, I saw that in a theater that had extra surround sound. It was the
IMAX
best possible.
almost, yeah.
It wasn't IMAX, but it was the best possible sound theater that I could go see it in. And when it cranks the engine at the beginning, I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna have a good time!"
Man, I have to watch the originals.
Oh, they're so
Yeah.
good. We'll do that on
We
the
have
podcast.
to do that on the podcast.
Yes, Mad Max 2 is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Oh, I've been I've been trying to watch it, but
Yeah.
Also, what they did with Max in the movie, and I guess they do this with all of them, the way how it's not really his story. He's just kind of along for the ride.
Yeah.
I mean, he's helping, but
And in this one, he's begrudgingly helping.
yeah, it's almost kind of like Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You're just you're a supporting character who just so happened to be promoted to protagonist.
Yeah.
I actually love those kinds of movies where the person we're just getting the viewpoint of a person experiencing something insane that they didn't meet, they're not a Rambo or they're not the main character really, but they just happen to be in this insane world.
Yeah, and that said, he still does have a character arc and learns things, but it is kind of interesting the fact that he doesn't really have a dog in this fight at first.
Yeah.
No,
But-
it's more just escaped. But
Yeah.
he's got the heart, right? Still, and it's buried deep down in this apocalyptic wasteland.
Is Furiosa yet?
No, it isn't. It's coming soon.
Okay.
Is there a new one?
Yes,
coming out?
Furiosa is coming. I don't know if it's coming this year, but it's coming within the next 2 years. I
Yeah.
think.
Is it the same director?
Yeah.
Yes, George Miller.
And it's what's her name? Clarice Theron?
No, it's not her because
Charlize?
it's younger.
Oh, okay. It's a prequel.
I thought
Charlize Theron.
I thought it was still her. No,
I don't think it is.
it might be her and younger. Anyways, it doesn't matter. I have a funny thing. You know the movie Fury?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought every time it comes up on like Netflix as you're like scrolling through or something, Annabelle's like, "Oh, have you seen Furry?" It's from something. So, I think it's from a Zach Galifianakis Between Two Ferns,
Oh, yeah,
where he brings it up with Brad Pitt, I think, or something. He's like, "So furry," and then so like, could you imagine Mad Max Furry Road?
Mad Max Fury Road. We gotta do something about this road, guys.
What's wrong with the road? There's all these furries.
What I love about that movie, and I'm going to talk a little bit because, like I said, this is one of my favorite movies of all time, and this is the only time I'm ever going to get to talk about it on this podcast, is it's so visually stunning for a movie that takes place in a desert after the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like the special effects.
Yeah,
like,
they're all
they
real. Like the
killed it.
stunts,
Yeah.
it's there. Like, oh my god, and even just like the little details of
The
like
guitar
the
guy.
guitar guy and like, oh my god.
I don't know if this is true, but I think I read somewhere that like the studio really wanted the guitar guy cut out of the movie.
Oh wow.
And I think
Idiots.
George Miller was just like, no. Like,
It's
Fuck
so
studio.
cool.
Yeah.
Fuck the producers and like shit that ruins movies.
Yeah.
Because that's basically what happened to like Obi-Wan. Like they had to rewrite it because of blah blah
blah blah blah. Yeah. I would say when civilization inevitably collapses, I think that'll be my new role.
Yeah.
I'll be playing guitar, reading poetry on a war rig somewhere.
Oh my god, yeah, just pumping everybody up.
Yeah.
Oh man, that is the best fist pump like yes movie ever. Is there? Sorry, I've kind of commandeered this a little bit. Is there anything else you want to talk about how great this movie is?
No, honestly, just I mean, there's really nothing I could say that everyone else hasn't already said. It's just kind of this is my little redemption arc. You
Cool.
know, like
Yeah.
I finally was like, oh, okay,
You get
it's
it
sort
now.
of like you know.
Yeah, like
I was gonna say something funny, but it's gone now.
where and who you watch something with changes it. And like,
Yeah.
like there's been a few times where like Hot Tub Time Machine. Kelvin watched that with a girlfriend at that time.
I was about to bring up Kelvin as well, so I'm gonna tell that story after.
Yeah, so like he watched Hot Tub Time Machine with a girlfriend at the time back in like whatever 2012 or whatever it was, and he's like. She didn't like it, so he was like, it wasn't that good. Then me and him watched it, and we still quote it to this day.
Yes.
Like, it's so much funnier when you watch it with the right person, or like so much more exciting or whatever in the right mindset.
And my story is the opposite. Kelvin and his girlfriend saw Dinner for Schmucks, and they were like, this is the funniest movie ever.
I remember that.
And
Whoa.
Jess and I watched it, and we were like, what did they
Whoa.
watch? Did they
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
different movies? This is awful.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah.
funny.
Can't trust a guy who has never seen Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or
Yeah.
or like
Yeah. Or. Too many ors. We got to round that out. You did see Die Hard with him this year, which is
yeah,
great.
yeah. I
Filming on
finally
that.
got him to watch that.
Yeah.
So we can keep him around for another year because he's
Yeah.
seen Die Hard.
Yeah, he redeemed himself at the end of the year.
Good.
We'll keep him alive.
Yeah. Jason, number 2.
Yes. So like I really liked. I'm just gonna preface this with I have this memory of watching from like around the corner. I wasn't allowed to watch Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Oh, hey now.
I didn't watch it this year, but Kiri brought me back to that. Like it brings back that like nostalgia that I had for like, and I still have to rewatch that movie.
I recommended that movie last week to somebody.
Oh yeah. Like there was this one scene, like I was way too young, and they have that like it's like a half moon sword type thing, and she throws it, and it cuts into someone's head. That's all I really remember from that. But like,
Whoa.
anyways, yeah, Kiri. It's like one of the best samurai movies you could possibly watch, and it has so much depth to it with the honor system and everything.
It's like a slow-moving samurai movie.
Yeah. And like I really like those movies where like you could look at like the whole genre from like a fanboy perspective, but this movie's like telling you like it's not all like awesome swords and jumping shit.
Yeah.
Like it's like
everything else, there's corruption.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
being a
so-
samurai kind of sucks sometimes.
yeah. It's not all like being a cool redemption arc thing. Although he did get one, so
Yeah.
it's still there. But yeah, and just the like imagery and direction of it. I loved like the shadows and the angled views of the close-up faces. Like that adds this unnervingness to it, if that's the right word.
Yeah. If I had put that in, it was definitely my favorite of all of the foreign films that we watched this year. I really enjoyed it. It's a great Sunday afternoon watch.
Yeah. And it makes me want to watch more foreign films as
yes,
well,
and that director's films.
And yeah, especially Kobayashi.
Yeah. My number 2. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah, it's Network. I had a really hard time with my number 2 and my number 1 because I could have interchanged both of them. This is the movie that I did during the draft episode. It's Sidney Lumet's, maybe one of his most important pieces. Obviously, 12 Angry Men is also extremely important, but it's a satirical film about how the media controls how we think, basically, and uses our own emotions against us to basically sell time. It's so funny. It's so
articulate,
groundbreaking. Like it predicted so much of where the media was going. It's the basic premise is that a news anchor with nothing left to live for is fired due to low ratings, and he goes on the air and says that he's been given 2 weeks notice, and at the end of his 2 weeks he's going to blow his brains out live on the air. The network at first is really mad because they're like, how did we let this air? And then the ratings go up, and that's when they're like, wait a second, we can sell this. We can sell the anger back to America.
Yeah.
And it's so good. It's a movie that A, made me want to just watch every Lumet movie ever made, and it's B, like just a movie that I've been talking about for the last like 3-4 months and just recommending to everybody. The performances are all like so incredible. It's got so many great quotes. There's a monologue later in the film that's one of the greatest monologues of all time, and it's performed with such ferociousness that I rewatched it just deciding whether or not this was going to be my number 2 or my number 1, and my jaw, even knowing what he was about to say when he enters the room to deliver his monologue, was still on the floor when he performed it. It's so good. The ending of this movie is absolutely incredible. It's so cynical, but it just like, it's so perfectly cynical. I love it. I love every aspect of this movie, and we'll cover it on the podcast in the next year, I'm sure.
Man, I am now like, this is the first time since then that I actually like looked it up, and I actually recognize it. I don't know from what. I don't know if I've seen it parodied or what, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it like when I was like sick or something. It was on TV on like a rerun old movie channel or something like that. It looks so familiar.
It's a great movie. I cannot recommend it enough.
I want to watch it.
Yeah. And like I said, we'll cover it on the podcast in some more detail. So I'll get to talk about it one more time on this podcast, I'm sure.
All right, you get one more.
Yeah. All right. That's it. We're down to number 1, each of us. This is it. This is the big one. Mike,
okay.
You get to start us off.
At the risk of drawing this out, do you guys want to guess what my number 1 is?
Is it the Batman?
No.
Is it new or old? Play a little guessing game here.
Did we cover it on the podcast?
No. You and I have seen it together, but we have not covered it on the podcast, and it's newer. Like, it's within the last 10 years.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it a horror movie?
Kind of. You know what? I'll rip the Band-Aid off. So, it is JoJo Rabbit.
Yes!
Yeah.
I watched that this year. It was on my list, too,
nice.
of like great movies that I watched this year.
So, like I said, I typically don't rewatch movies, but you and I watched it together on New Year's Eve of last year.
Yes.
And then I watched it again New Year's Day.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah.
So it does fit into this year.
It does just barely fits into this year. No, I was completely blown away by how great it was. Also, like, it really fits I like things that are a little fragmented in the sense that, like, I like things that, like, are stupid but smart at the same time. And I like things that can make me laugh 1 minute and then make me cry the next minute.
So you like juxtaposition.
Yeah, I like juxtapositions. Like BoJack Horseman or Rick and Morty kind of fit into that too. So, Like, there's one, I don't really want to spoil it because I think everyone really should see that movie. And that's why Thor: Love and Thunder broke my heart this summer, because I expected better from Taika Waititi, but he gets one. But anyways, there's one moment towards the end of the movie with a side character played by Sam Rockwell that it genuinely brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah, like, and Sam Rockwell is such a great actor.
Yeah. He's fit, like, so he plays kind of a grizzled, kind of embittered SS officer, and at the beginning he's taking all, like, the Hitler Youth kids into the woods to train them, and he says something like, I wish I could remember the line, but it's basically like, okay, so even though the Allies have us on the back foot, we're doing just fine. When he's like, we're apparently doing just fine.
And there's the little fat kid, too.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, he's great.
He genuinely, when I was thinking about my best actor for this year, the little fat kid almost made it. He's like, at the end,
and I'm just the little fat kid in the little fat kid's body.
Yeah, he's like, I heard the Allies are, like, going to have sex with dogs, so we got to stop them before they have sex with all our dogs. Yeah, and again, like, there's just some super emotional, devastating moments. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Don't spoil them.
I won't. But again, everybody really should see that movie.
Like,
yeah.
The Hail Hitler scene was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Just like, there was, I forget how many.
There's like 10 guys.
Yeah, there's 10 guys, and they
Yeah.
each do it like multiple times.
Yeah.
I think it was like 56. It was the most like on screen ever.
Jess was really conflicted going into the movie because she's like, she's somebody who has family who was in World War II, who fought against the Nazis.
Oh, I did not know that.
So she's like, I'm worried that this movie isn't going to do, like, it's going to glorify Nazism, or it's going to, like, not do things tastefully. And by the end, she was like, God damn, that was a good movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they did a good job making the Nazis seem like incompetent almost.
Yeah.
Like,
which really did happen to certain degrees, while at the same time they were doing all kinds of like absolutely horrible things that were not from competent.
Well,
like,
the other thing too is like it also goes in a little bit like the brainwashing of like how good people can fall into bad situations.
Almost the best character in the movie is the little boy JoJo. He has an imaginary friend named Hitler, played by Taika Waititi, and the way that relationship develops and changes throughout the course of the movie is really interesting.
Yes, I very much agree.
Yeah,
it's so like propaganda-y and how it moves into like the realism of like,
and like that probably did happen to some kid. Like
oh yeah,
definitely it did.
I had a pet spike that I talked to. It was a railway spike because I just moved to St. Thomas and I found it, and like I had a little imaginary friend in this spike. So like a kid at that age.
Now that spike didn't murder millions of people, but
that we know of.
It murdered an elephant.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah. That
very large one.
That elephant had
a jumbo-sized one.
Yeah, definitely the best movie I've seen all year.
That's awesome.
And also probably in my top 5.
Yeah,
it's a
great movie.
Yeah,
highly recommended as well.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, number 1.
Yeah. So this is like I could have went for like the best movie. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, there's technically the best movie. Like Thief is mine.
Oh,
really?
Yes.
Like, I actually had that like. I have that in my mind so much just for him sitting down all tired out after that.
The heist goes well?
Having a cigarette. Because I smoke, and like every time I smoke, I'm like especially after like when I'm feeling really good, that image just floats into my mind, and I'm like that feeling stays with me from that movie.
James Caan sells that movie. Like, he is so good in that movie that it's not in my top 5, but his performance is in, like, if it does it, it's not number 2, or sorry, if it's not number 1, it's number 2. Like, and it's not even close. He is so good in that movie.
Yeah, like, and the realism, like the depths that Michael Mann goes to like figure out what he's gonna portray, like like how he's gonna set up the heist and how these characters act.
Right.
All of those things just nail it for me, because like I could be watching like some of the best movies like of all time, and I'll see like small things. Maybe not best of all time, because this fits in there, where like I could be watching really good movies that everyone else loves, who isn't like a film junkie.
Yeah.
And I'll be like pulling apart little, like I'll find all the threads and pull them, and I'll be like, I don't like that. Like, why would she do that? Like, I really love this movie, but if they didn't do that, I would actually love it. Like, I would love it. But like, there's nothing to pull apart from here.
Yeah.
Like, each person is a real person, and there's actual like it's
with
almost
real problems.
Yeah,
and
real
like,
problems, real motivations, real like there's an understanding of who these people are by the actors and the writer and director.
Yeah, and it's not gonna like it's not for everybody, like, because Jess was like genuinely upset by who James Caan was, because he was kind of a racist and kind of a sexist guy. But I was like, but the guy spent most of his life behind bars. Like, his formative years were growing up around assholes. Like, and this is who he would be.
Yeah, and like when you, like, I kind of relate in a certain way where, like, he has seen, like, the worst, and he knows exactly what he wants, and his whole goal is to just get that, because he knows it's possible, because he's seen everyone getting stripped of everything that they wanted and they hold dear and everything. And he's like, I'm going to hold on to everything that's in this picture, and I'm going to fucking get that. Because he's, like, he knows how to do it, and he's going to do it. And he basically does. Like, he gets rid of all the other shit, but, like, in the end, he does get away.
Yeah, and you're talking about, like, how great the characters and the plot is, but, like, let's take a moment to just appreciate the opening shot of the movie and that pan down of, like, the alleyway, and it's raining and the Tangerine Dream is playing.
Yeah,
like,
that
you
was
and
unreal.
I know you and I watched that opening shot and went, God damn, this is gonna be an awesome movie.
Yeah, like, I got shivers again right now. Just you like making me remember that.
Yeah, that makes me so happy that you picked that movie, because I got you that for your housewarming gift.
Yeah, and like, you just gave it to me today, and I already had, like, I had an idea of my list. I just was moving things around, but Thief didn't move. Yeah, and then you gave that to me. So
that's a fantastic movie. I'm so glad you picked that for number one. All right, is it time for my number one?
I think it might be.
Cool. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
A comeback comes back around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
the movie that I
right.
shared with Michael after we did it on the podcast, because it's a Western movie that's based on a true story, but it's really not your typical Western. Like, it's so funny, but it's also like a buddy movie. It's a movie that you watch with a friend, and I think you guys have a really great time together. You said it's directed or written by William Goldman, who The Princess Bride is one of my all-time favorite movies, and there is just so much of that DNA here. Like, this movie yes, it's a Western, but it's also a comedy. It's also a buddy movie. There's action, there's romance. Like, this movie really has it all, and it feels like the first attempt at The Princess Bride before The Princess Bride was fully formed, right?
The feeling, like, the feeling is there, like, the underlying elements.
Yeah, if you're chasing The Princess Bride, I think, like, I really can't recommend the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid enough. Like, it's so good. It's got Paul Newman and Robert Redford. And really, the two reasons that blew me away with this movie, and the reasons why this ends up on there, is, first of all, the comedy for a movie that came out in the 60s just is still so funny.
So funny.
Like,
so sharp.
Yeah, it's so good. And then the other thing is, Paul Newman just completely blew me away. Like, it's like no performance that I've ever seen before. Like, I want to hang out with that guy. Like, he's so cool. He's so goddamn cool.
And I love ranch, so I would love to hang out with him. Ranch dressing.
Yeah, and that's the other thing.
He stayed such a cool person overall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is the thing, is that our generation doesn't know who Paul Newman is, and it's a real shame, because he is, like, one of the best actors that I've ever seen in a movie, period.
I love the scene where, like I mentioned this before, that guy is challenging him to a fight for supremacy of the group, and that one guy says, he's like, well, Butch, you always said any of us could challenge you at any time. He's like, that's only because I didn't think you would ever gonna.
Honestly, the quotes in that movie, like, when we did the podcast, I couldn't stop, like,
It's
yeah.
It's so good. Like there's just so many great moments like that. And again, like that fight scene that when they rob the train and the same guy is in the train twice, and like he's like Butch, and he's like, "Oh man, is that you, Woodrow?"
yeah.
Now, Butch, there's no one I'd rather surrender my goods to, but
and they kept it up all the way to the end, like the very end. That just those like funny lines, even when it gets like serious, they just keep at it.
Yeah, it's such a good movie. It's a movie that I've shared with people, like shared with Mike this year. I want to continue sharing it. It's something that's really special to me. It's my favorite Western of all time. It's probably my favorite buddy movie of all time. It's just so damn good.
I will say I'm gonna just jump ahead and say that my choice for best performer I'm gonna do a two-way tie between Robert Redford and Paul Newman.
Cool.
Because like they're so different, but like you believe that they're friends.
Yeah.
It makes sense why they would have latched onto each other.
Like they probably didn't like it didn't happen naturally. They just like bumped into each other, and like just the lines that they kept throwing at each other. They're like, oh, this guy's like he's challenging me to be almost like better at being like funny the way that I am.
Yeah.
Like, like they don't like just form into like one group. They're two separate entities that like revolve around each other.
Well, and Paul Newman's character Butch is the optimist. He's the planner. He's the one who comes up with the good ideas. And Robert Redford's like he's like the quiet, moody, like badass who like executes on
basically the enforcer.
Yeah.
It's like the comedic duo of Seth Rogen and DeFranco.
It's a weird comparison.
Who are these guys?
Yeah, they're just like it's kind of similar in that sense. Like, and it's special. It's a special movie to me, and I really really love it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the best movie I've seen all year.
Even though it's not your number one.
Yeah, I would like.
It's my number one.
I would absolutely have loved to see that when it came out.
Yeah. And you know what? It's a movie that, funny enough, had kind of mixed reviews when it came out.
That's right.
But it just holds up like so well, and maybe it's because it was ahead of its time at that time. I don't know, but I cannot recommend it.
I feel like people didn't have humor before, like the general populace didn't understand humor, and now it's it's evolved so much that when you look back at some things, you're like they were definitely ahead of their time.
Well, I think audiences loved it when it came out. It's just critics hated it.
Yeah.
Which that never happens. But
that's it for our top 5. Do we want to do some honorable mentions before we move on? Because I got a couple that I just couldn't quite fit into my list.
I have one.
Sure, go ahead.
Just going off, thinking about Michael Mann again. I think Heat is up there for me.
Heat was like that was
a good
almost
movie.
my number one, and like that would technically be my number one as best movie, but not for me the way it connected with me. Thief stole that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't bump it to 2 because it deserves a number 1 spot.
It does. And for me, I couldn't quite justify it because I think it was my third watch. So I was I really wanted it in my top 5, but yeah, Heat's one of those movies that it's so stunningly good that when you watch it for the first time, you're like, how have I never heard of this before?
Yeah. And especially the diner scene that everyone remembers from that movie. Yeah.
There's just so many memorable scenes. Like, just even the way it ends is just like it's so poignant. It's so sad. It's a classic. It's an all-time classic. It's a movie that everybody should watch and more people should know about.
Absolutely.
A movie that hasn't. We've talked about Heat. We've talked about Thief, which just didn't make the cut for me. Nope. The Jordan Peele's movie.
Yeah.
I rewatched it. The problem that I have with Nope, it's a great movie. It's so good. I really love it. But the Gordy the Ape scene just doesn't work for me. And in my opinion, on the second rewatch, I realized why it doesn't work is it comes at a really awkward time in the movie.
Interesting.
And I actually think that it would have worked out better as the opener for the movie. Cold open, Gordy scene happens, I think would have actually played out better in my head. And Jordan Peele is one of my favorite up-and-coming directors, but I couldn't justify it on my list, unfortunately. I think
with this movie, he came.
What?
He came. He's not up-and-coming anymore.
No, he's not up-and-coming anymore.
He came on the screen.
And I will continue to go see every Jordan Peele movie from here on out.
Every time he comes, I'll be there.
Yeah. The other movie that I want to mention really quickly is Apocalypto.
The Mel Gibson
I watched
movie.
for the first time this year. It's a Mel Gibson movie about Mayans and ancient times. At a really interesting crossroads. And it's so good. Like the last 30 minutes of the movie, I don't think I breathed. I was on the edge of my seat. So I watched this one afternoon. Jess came home early for work about 20 to 30 minutes into the movie because I didn't think she would like it. So I just watched it at that point. And so she started watching it with me, and her and I were both like edge of our seats, like gripping how this movie was going to end. It was so incredibly good. I will say it's a little on the gory side, so I don't think it's going to be for everybody because it's almost excessive how gory it is.
This is Mel Passion of the Christ Gibson.
Yes,
and
I watched this in 2006. I was too young to be watching it.
Oh, dear.
I remember like the brutality of it and like the whole like Mayan like apocalypse thing happened. Like it was insane for me then, and I would love to watch that again.
It's worth a rewatch. Trust me, it's a fantastic movie, but I just couldn't quite shake Everything Everywhere All at Once out of my list for it.
I'm faintly disappointed in myself that Everywhere. You know what? I'll say Everything Everywhere All at Once is probably my number 6.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah, I feel like we've kind of had we might be in kind of a renaissance for weird movies.
Yes,
I
believe so.
What's that movie you told me about with the little kid, the little sheep girl movie?
Oh, Lamb.
Lamb. I watched Lamb a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It didn't make my top 5, but that's another really weird, unsettling, slow burn movie.
I'd like to watch it. I haven't seen it myself, but I just read good things about it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like it's very slow and weird, but I wasn't bored.
Yeah.
Because like the worst thing a movie can be is boring.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was genuinely, the ending catches you completely off guard, but I wasn't like, what? Like I wasn't unsatisfied.
Yeah.
Like it stuck with me a little bit.
Cool.
Pacing is hard, and
Yes.
you have to be in the right mood for an artistic movie.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah.
As long like you're saying, Lamb wasn't boring. It kept
Yeah.
you going.
It kept me going.
Was it a slow burn type?
Slow burn?
Yeah, okay.
Slow burn, and like it's not obvious what it's building to.
Oh, I feel like I would love that one.
Yeah, you probably would.
Okay, shall we move into best performances? And how are we going to do this? Do we want to do...
I kind of already blew my load on that one.
Yeah, but that's fine. Do we want to do...
Mine's a small joke.
Do you have one person, or do you have, like...
My best performance is the Iron Giant. And it's like...
Vin Diesel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just...
Garth.
yeah, like... What is it? I go, you stay, no follow.
Yeah.
That's the best performance right there.
Cool. So many layers in that one
I
sentence.
respect that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do my top 2, but I'm going to mention a couple honorable mentions before this. So Kate Winslet in Titanic, I can't pick her because I've seen Titanic a bunch of times, but this is the really first time that I think that I've really come to appreciate her performance in it. And I think that I've underappreciated in the past, so I want to shout her out because she's phenomenal. Peter Finch in Network as a haunted man is so good. Number 2s for male and female, so Keke Palmer in Nope. She's just so electric in the movie.
Yeah.
And she steals like every single scene she's in.
Yeah.
And then James Caan in Thief is just the depth to his ex-con character. He's so good. His performance is so good. And some people just aren't gonna get it and aren't gonna appreciate it. Like, just it's so built in realism. You're not supposed to like this guy. You're not supposed to idolize him. And I love it so much. But number 1 female, Michelle Yeoh. Her portrayal, just so many layers.
Everything
to it.
Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
You know what? I did not prepare a best actress, but I will throw my hat in that one as well.
Yeah. And I want to watch more of her movies now. I've never actually seen another movie of hers, and I need to. Like,
I feel like I've seen
good.
a few, and like she's always phenomenal.
Yeah, she's got so many like she's acting as so many different versions of herself. She's an action hero. She's like a middle-aged woman who's having all of these middle-aged woman problems. Like, she's just so good. She's such a tragic hero, and her performance is part of the reason why that movie is so great, and a large part of the reason why that movie is so great.
I wouldn't say she's a tragic hero though, because she learns her lesson.
Yeah, but like I guess she's tragic pre
the
lesson.
She's a.
I don't know how to describe that. Probably.
I get what you.
As a non-writer.
I'm being a little. I'm being a little pedantic right now, so don't worry about it.
But yeah, number 1 is Paul Newman for me and Butch Cassidy.
Okay.
Like, he's just so charismatic. He's like the most charming guy I've ever seen on screen. And he's the kind of guy that everybody wants to be friends with. Like, I just want to be friends with that guy. I just want to go on the hijinks that guy goes on.
It's almost like a D&D character who put all his points into charisma.
Yeah.
Like, because... Yeah. Okay, I won't say it because it's a spoiler, but like he's really only charming. That's the only thing he's good at is being charming.
That's like Cary Grant too. Like I feel like Cary Grant and Paul Newman are like equal footing, I would say.
Yeah.
He almost kind of in that movie. He kind of almost reminds me of like Bob Odenkirk in Better Call Saul.
A little bit, almost like he
that.
probably channeled that.
Yeah. I get that vibe.
Like I'm not a fighter, but I'm a talker.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna punch my way out. I'll talk my way out.
Yeah, and that maybe there's like kind of like I think most people can maybe relate to that more than they can relate to the fighter, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why it becomes so important to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many movies that were so good. I can't why are we? We're torturing ourselves here.
Yeah, really.
All right, well, let's wrap it up with Best Director, and then we'll call it an episode.
Okay.
Michael Mann.
Yeah. Thief, Heat,
everything else.
Yeah.
I want to see so many more of his. And, like, you really nailed it with Sidney Lumet, too. Like, those are types of movies that, like, I really enjoy. So I want to keep watching his. But yeah, those two are up there. Kubrick, like
obviously Kubrick. Yeah, Sidney Lumet is my pick. He just represents like what we're trying to do on this podcast so well. Is just find those movies that have just slipped through the cracks of our generation's viewing experience. And he wasn't even on my radar. Like as somebody who really appreciates movies, before we did that draft episode, I'd never heard his name. Even despite having watched 12 Angry Men and appreciating how great of a movie 12 Angry Men is. And the fact that he made like 50 movies almost in 50 years and how important he was not just to like cinematic history but like to the actors themselves and how much they appreciated working with him. Like he's just such an important guy. And we didn't talk about these two movies, but I'm going to shout him out again. I talked about them more on the draft video with The Hill and Dog Day Afternoon. Can't recommend both of those enough. So
I think for my best director, this might surprise you, but I might just have to go with Fellini.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
That does surprise me.
Okay.
We did 8.5. That's how I broke myself in, which was a terrible choice. But you and I had a lot to talk about with that movie, but we were both a little lukewarm on it.
Yeah.
But that's one of those experiences where I maybe didn't necessarily enjoy watching it conventionally, but it's a movie that's really stuck with me these last few months. So I would be interested in seeing more of his movies.
I feel like he influenced so many.
Oh, he did.
Like his influence was so huge and like underlying for everybody who just regularly watches and enjoys movies.
Yeah.
But like for the directors and certain actors and like writers, that's such a respectable like pick. Yeah.
There are like 3 or 4, maybe more. There's like 3 or 4 big kind of more, I don't want to call them dream sequences, but like memories. Yeah, dream sequences that like are very hard to look away from. Like the opening scene, the scene at the end, like the flashback scene where he's taking a bath and wine, which again, I guess Italians just do.
It's how they stay youthful forever.
Yeah, I guess so.
Whoa.
We should do that.
The term paparazzi comes from a character named Paparazzo in one of his films.
That's right. Yeah.
Interesting. That's
So he's an interesting guy.
add in history lesson there. It was a journalist who was photographing celebrities. Anyways.
So when we were talking about during that episode, we actually highlighted some of the directors that Fellini directly inspired. There was quite an inspiration there, and they weren't directors. Again, they weren't directors that I appreciated as much, but they are directors that are important. Like one comes to mind is
David Lynch.
Yeah, David Lynch, Tim Burton, like those two. Like
I can see that.
There's a very big group of people that really appreciate those kind of films and are probably going to appreciate something like that. Although, like I said in that episode too, maybe that's not the first Fellini movie you watch.
Yeah,
maybe that's not the first Fellini you watch.
I watched like the second Sicario.
Yes.
But it wasn't within this year. Fucking love Sicario.
The first one's great. I haven't seen the second one.
Like Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
He's another great fucking director. Like,
oh yeah,
there's so many, man.
Isn't that new Pinocchio movie out?
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
like 3 Pinocchios
I was
out
almost
this
gonna
year,
watch
and,
that.
Yeah, and one of them is his, and his is apparently the best one because it's so weird.
Yeah, and
That
like
doesn't
it's Tim
surprise me.
Burton-esque too, which is why I connected those dots again.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. I think that's it. Do we want to?
I have like I just want to read off my list.
Yeah. I want
Okay.
to read off my top 5 as well. I think we should all do their top 5.
Oh, top 5.
What,
I was
just
just gonna say everything. Honorable mentions.
Oh wait, yeah. Do your honorable mentions, and then we'll wrap up. Just each of us say our top 5 movies of the year, and then we'll wrap her up.
All right. So Tenet, The Woman King, Greatest Beer Run Ever was pretty fun.
Cool.
That was a very fun movie.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Natural Born Killers. I fucking love that movie, and
yeah.
I'm so glad that I got to do like the episode on that.
Mm-hmm.
Did we do a full episode?
that was a draft episode.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll do it at some point.
Yeah. Nomadland was another really good one.
I think that one. An Oscar.
Won an Oscar for what's her name?
Yeah.
It was phenomenal.
Frances McDormand.
Oh, is that like the director?
No, that's the actor.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that is exactly it.
Yeah, she's married to one of the Coen brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a very good movie. The Sisters Brothers with Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, I
and,
saw that last December.
Yeah?
Yeah, I read the book too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun one. Not necessarily fun, but I liked getting into that world. Thor: Love and Thunder sucked. Uncharted.
Yeah.
Uncharted could have been so good, but it was okay.
Yeah.
Have you
You played the video games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played them all.
Have you seen the meme where it's like fans demand that they don't cast Tom Holland as Kratos in the God of War movie? Yeah,
That's so funny.
he's pretty good.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I think that's it. So let's say our top 5 before we close her off.
Okay.
So my top 5. Actually, let's do this in order again.
Sure.
Mike, top 5.
Jeez,
From
what were my
fifth
top?
to first?
Yes.
Okay, so my top 5 from 5th to 1st would be Encanto, Last Night, Butch, Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Mad Max Fury Road, and JoJo Rabbit.
All right. My top 5, number 5 down is Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then I had Butch Cassidy, Kill Bill, and North by Northwest, but I eventually chose North by Northwest. It was really fun. Number 3, Eyes Wide Shut. Number 2, Kiri. Number 1, Thief.
Awesome. I love your list. I love both your lists. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, number 5 for me. Number 4, Jaws. Number 3, Barbarian. Number 2, Network. And number 1, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
So Butch Cassidy made it to all of our lists.
Yeah.
Even though I crossed mine out. But yeah, it definitely... Mine was not a solid list. Like, it was a very loose and...
Vague list.
Yeah.
Okay.
A fluid list.
Yeah, fluid, yeah.
Great movie. Great movie.
Yes.
All right, I think that is it for this episode. It was a lot of fun doing our top 5s here.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
really
glad-
hard to make a list.
Yeah,
Kinda, yeah.
Like, I've missed probably at least 30 movies that I've watched that I like every movie except for the ones that I don't. But for the most part, I like every movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm basically only watching good movies.
Yeah, that's true. And well, that's
Except Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like it was good enough for what it is supposed to be.
Michael might have different
Strongly
opinions.
disagree.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I know how bad it was, but it is like one of the Marvel movies that isn't one of the main ones. And Thor had done so well previously, and then they just dropped the ball. So like that's where like expectations going in. But if you had no expectations because it's another Marvel movie, you should never have expectations for the next Marvel movie. You watch it and then you decide.
I guess I kind of feel bad. This is now the Marvel podcast.
Let's wrap her up with Marvel, my favorite cinematic universe.
I feel like Thor Ragnarok blew everyone away with how good it was. That Taika Waititi in Marvel just doubled down on what worked in Ragnarok, but like
too formulaically.
Yeah, it's kind of tragic in that they're like, "Oh, this is what you guys want. Well, here's more of what you want." And
I heard
like,
that he was almost like borderline parodying what like the original Thor, but also just like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing.
I feel like that's kind of. I've also heard that same argument with Obi-Wan, the Disney Plus show, that like, oh, it's not bad. It's just they were almost parodying the prequels, and I'm like,
no, I don't
cut
think,
that Stockholm syndrome bullshit out.
Yeah, that was
like,
bullshit. The writers got fucked on because they had to rewrite that like so quickly because they had a whole movie plan for Obi-Wan.
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
And then they have to change it into a
miniseries,
and then like do like add stuff in, take stuff out, and then it just got cut to pieces, and we're left with like something that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw how many writers were on the first episode of Obi-Wan, I was kind of like, ooh, we're in for a bad time.
Yeah.
I want to say on the Star Wars topic that this year I did the machete order of Star Wars, and I can't recommend watching it that way enough.
Yeah.
You watch 4, 5, 2, 3, and then 6, and it just.
What about 7, 8, and 9?
And one
They don't exist. They never happened.
That was a fever dream.
Who? Topher Grace has. Is it Topher Grace who has a version of? He like cut together something that was butchered. Oh, the Hobbit. Is it the Hobbit?
I don't know.
The 3 Hobbit movies. Topher Grace, the guy from that '70s show.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's him. He like it's like the machete kills or the machete.
Machete kills.
No,
The machete kills Hobbit order.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But no, like, which one is it? Let me find it.
I think you guys are both having a stroke.
Topher Grace Star Wars edit. You might be onto something here. Oh, he edited together George Lucas's 3 prequel films into a single 85-minute feature film.
And it was
Interesting.
fucking phenomenal. Apparently, yeah, like he actually like perfected it. And
I want
to watch that.
I still want to do that with the second and third Matrix movies. It's still on my list of to-dos when I have time.
I'm still blown away that Topher Grace is apparently an editor. I guess
anyone could be an editor.
I guess
you
so,
just have to have the footage.
He was not successful at all, so he had all the time in the world, right? But he's successful enough to have enough money to be like, hey, could you edit this for me, buddy?
I would say
I don't know.
Our definitions of successful might be different because he has more money than you and I will ever make in our
Of course.
lifetimes. Come on.
Also, we know who he is.
Yeah.
But
That's a good point. You have no idea who we are.
but I've never liked him in anything. I didn't even like him in that
What?
70s
That
show.
show's great.
Yeah, it was great.
Eric
but
Foreman?
He's one of those characters that you just have to hate. You love to hate him. You love the show, you hate him.
He's like
Ted. It's like everyone hates Ted.
It's like Ross. Like you
Yeah.
have to have
Well,
that person.
Ross
think
wasn't as bad.
No, Ross is the worst.
I think
Monica's worse.
Eric is significantly more likable than those other 2 guys you mentioned.
Yeah,
Eric Foreman.
like a little bit.
I liked
yeah.
Eric.
I liked Eric more than I liked Ross, and I don't know
like
about
Ross.
Ted.
I like Ross more than Ted, and then Eric is last. Out of the 3 that
All
we're
right,
doing.
well, we
Those
all
are
have
some strong
differing opinions
opinions.
here, yeah.
yeah.
Who knew that this podcast would devolve into
I
strong
liked how
opinions?
we all finally came together on Butch Cassidy, and now we're all praying again.
Yeah. We need to do this more.
Yeah.
Just have like a free session.
Well,
We
we've
should
got
do some
time at the end of
lives.
this episode, so I'm letting her go.
We
But-
got 30 episodes. This is I think 31.
Yeah, we probably have 31 views at this point.
yeah.
All of them are me.
No,
Thanks, Mom.
we,
we're all- yeah,
we had a
your
very
mom.
nice comment on the Platoon episode.
Yeah, we did.
Shout out to that person.
Yeah, shout out to that person.
Oh wait, was it Luke?
No, it
No.
was just a random person, and we got
Well,
actually
it's
good
better-
movie recommendation.
Nice. Okay, it's better than I guess one.
I
of
hope
our
she's listening right
coworkers
now.
just doing.
Our
Yeah.
one fan.
Yeah,
We love you.
Honestly, we have a couple. There's like almost a dozen of us.
There are dozens of us.
yeah.
Almost a dozen of us, Michael. Let's not pluralize.
Yeah,
it.
let's not oversell
They're illusions,
ourselves.
Michael.
All right, time to get back to the home.
That's awesome. All right, but I think it's time to wrap her up.
Yeah,
I think
all
that was
right.
a great episode. I had a ton of fun on this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Next up, Jason and I are going to actually. Oh yeah, that is our next episode, and we'll see if maybe we can do a 3-person one
Another
again next
three-way,
week.
yeah.
We're gonna do Gattaca. It's one of the most famous sci-fi movies of all time.
Like very popular among like sci-fi. It's
Mm-hmm.
just not many people other than the sci-fi like hardcore people.
Yeah, neither of us have
really
seen
know
it.
Yeah,
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, so
I've heard of it. Like it comes up in conversation here and there throughout like the past 5 years of my life. I keep seeing it. And I'm like, add it to the list,
Yep.
and then there's so many on the list.
yeah, it's like the inevitability. Like, if a conversation goes long enough, there's the inevitability that Hitler will come up.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
if a sci-fi
No.
conversation goes on long enough, Gattaca will come up
Yeah,
at some
yeah.
point.
That I thought that was Wikipedia clicks. If you keep clicking on Wikipedia links, any link, you'll eventually get to Hitler.
I think it's the law of Hitler. Like, if a conversation goes on long enough with enough people, Hitler will pop up.
I think
at
that's
some
called
point.
the Godwin's law.
Is it?
And I think Godwin's law is an argument on the internet that goes on long enough will involve someone being compared to Hitler.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's
it.
what it is.
Yeah. All right, but yeah, a lot of fun
Great
stuff
episode.
to come in the next year
Hey.
for the podcast. So, all right, have a good one, everyone.
Bye bye. Happy New Year.